ilaha illallah.
Welcome, welcome. Happy Ramadan.
Salam, dear ones.
Happy to be together again. We've missed you all, and we've missed sharing with you these recent weeks. So let us begin. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman-Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Come to the breath with gratitude and awareness. Allowing ourselves to be emptied with every outbreath and awakening into presence with every in-breath. This breath and this breath and this breath. This is the portal to unity. Enter into that oneness. And circulating within your own soul is a constellation of divine names. Names of oneness. Ya Nur, Ya Qudus, Ya Kareem, Ya Ghafoor, Ya Salam, Ya Sabur, Ya Hu. And we invite into this oneness the generations of seekers and guides that have come before us. Going back to our beloved teachers, back to our peer Hazrati Mevlana and Hazrati Shams, who also point us back to our beloved Muhammad and Ali and the companions and all the prophets of humanity that came before. Ya Haq. Breath by breath, emptying and awakening. Ya Shakur. We are thankful. And we'll join our voices in the divine name of Hu. Bismillah, Yahu. Now continue silently on the out-breath. Evala. So last month's theme was be a lover of unity, abandon separation. And this month's theme is trust in divine generosity. And of course, these two are related. But I'd like to start with the earlier theme. You know, we begin with certain principles. Unity is the most fundamental of those. Unity, oneness. And when we grasp the nature of this basic principle, then we apply it in our lives. So this always has a practical application. What do we mean by oneness or unity? There's a false oneness, false unity. If there are misunderstandings that also come from these ideas that we need to look at. So one misunderstanding that arises periodically is something like this. It's all God. Everything is Allah. every action, everything is Allah. True. But if we were to understand this as equalizing all things, all beliefs being equal, all actions being equal, all thoughts and emotions being equal, because they're all from Allah, we would be making a big mistake, because we'd be losing sight of the nature of this universe, which is multidimensional, level upon level. And the unity that we're talking about is the unity among these levels. In the true oneness, even here in this world of beauty and injustice and chaos and order and all these different things, in this world, even in the sorrow and suffering and pain, there's always that access that takes us back through the levels to the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth being something like this: that nothing in existence is without purpose. And even the things we don't like, even the things that hurt, serve a purpose. And ultimately, the oneness, the unity, is about the divine benevolence and mercy. That everything contains the seed of this mercy. Everything potentially reveals the love of Allah. Sometimes pain is necessary to return us to that awareness of our dependence on Allah. So this vertical dimension it occurred to me, it's sort of an example in our world is a mother's love. That a mother, by her nature, with her children, will love those children no matter what state they're in, no matter what their actions are. So a mother's love, ideally, runs through all of these levels of misbehavior, good behavior, all the different states that sons and daughters may pass through. But a mother's love, because it's connected at that highest level, because it's sourced in that true oneness of Allah, a mother's love is able to encompass imperfection as well as the beauties of perfection. And we contrast that to the false oneness, which might lead people to think, well, we can combine this and that. We can combine anything. We should make it one, make it all one, make all beliefs, all actions, all things one. But I was thinking of some examples of that. You may love the fragrance of and taste of rose water. And you may also love the taste of garlic in your food. But you wouldn't want to combine the rose water and the garlic in the same dish. This is where wisdom comes into play. So everything has its place, and wisdom is needed to help us understand what are we doing with the oneness at this moment. Another example is we were taught early in this tradition that whoever shows up at the tekya is to be welcomed because they've been sent by the peer. Ask no questions, welcome them. There's a beautiful saying of Abul Hassan Harakani, and he had this as an inscription above the door of his tekke. And he said, whoever comes to this door, receive them, give them food, give them a place to rest. If Allah Almighty has saw fit to create these souls, then Abul Hassan can at least welcome them. Another example of this beautiful, beautiful principle of oneness applied in action. But there's another aspect to this, and that aspect is that when one commits to the path, then one falls under certain obligations, certain requirements, certain stringencies even. And on the initiatic way, there are challenges, there are tests, and there are lessons. Because one enters under a different set of laws as we commit to the path to haqq, to truth. This oneness is described beautifully and importantly in the opening ayats of Surah Mulk. Mulk means the dominion. And I've been working on a translation of these ayats. Surah Mulk 67, 1 through 3. The dominion is in the hands of Allah, whose qadr, determination, reigns over everything. Who created life and death? Who created life and death to reveal who is best in deeds? Who is Aziz and Ghafur? Aziz is both the mighty but also dear, and Ghafur, the most forgiving of those who forgive. He who created the 7 heavens in 7 dimensions, one above another, and no lack of proportion, no flaws will you see in this creation of the all-compassionate, the Rahman. So look again. Do you see any flaw? Keep looking, and your vision will be exhausted and humbled. While this seems to, on the one hand, apply to the physical universe, and we can look at this universe, and the more human intelligence discovers how this universe and our biological world is created, the more we see there's an exquisite perfection and intelligence operating there. But I think it's also significant that it says all of this, it doesn't say it was created by Al-Alim, the all-knowing, though certainly it was. It does say that Al-Qadr, the determining power, created it. But when it talks about the levels, it says that these were created by Ar-Rahman, the infinitely compassionate. And this brings us to the heart of the matter and the heart of oneness, that the oneness is imbued with this divine mercy and compassion. And it's in every particle of being. It is in every event of existence. So we know that extraordinary cruelties and injustices happen when we forget to love the unity. to be realistic, we should consider applying this love of unity to those who are closest to us, near to us, our families, our close relations. Because it's here that, even here, that we make the mistake of preferring our own egos, whims, and desires, and letting those displace a sense of unity, of caring for each other, of oneness. So, in our communities, in our families, we try to arrange things. We try to remember principles that lead more and more to this unity. The adab of the tekya, the adab of a Sufi meeting, is always one. It's built on unity. It's built on being able to give our attention to whoever in the moment is responsible for trying to speak some truth, trying to awaken our hearts, to give our full attention to whoever has that function in the moment, and also to listen to each other with openness and attention. But in the tekya, in the derga, we try to create this atmosphere of unity. And through adab, we optimize affection, mohabbat, among us. And that creates an incredible atmosphere that becomes a living experiment and atmosphere in this oneness. Finally, and very importantly, our approach to oneness can be through salat, and particularly through the prostration, the sajda, where our forehead touches the ground, and where we enter into the beautiful oblivion of oneness, where we enter deep as our souls can penetrate into some experience of that oneness. And we abide in that as much as we can, again and again and again. And we carry that state over into zikr, into service, into everything we do. But we have that deep dive into oneness. Eunice Emery says something like, it takes a diver, a deep diver, to bring pearls up from that ocean. But if we make that deep dive, if we enter into that fire, like a fine Damascus sword being crafted, and when it's pulled from the fire, is it steel or is it fire? It has the attributes of both. So the human being can embody that fire of remembrance, that fire of oneness. Within our own souls, I said during the meditation, there's a circulating constellation of divine names. Choose the ones you love. Ya Haq, Ya Nur, Ya Wadud, Ya Latif, Ya Sabur, Ya Kareem. As a practical task, you could choose maybe 7 names that are your favorites, that are purely, clearly names of that oneness. And throughout the day, rotate those names in deep remembrance and enter that oneness and that realm of mystery. Enter that mysterion, that divine secret, where you may discover in moments light without end. Light without end, and where we can truly learn to trust the divine generosity, which is this month's theme. Yahak, Yahu, Yanur. Camille?
Yahak. Yawadud. Yanur. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So some further reflections from Mevlana and Shams to share this morning. Beginning with a verse from the Quran, though, from Surah An-Nisa, from the Surah of Women, and reflecting again on that unity, that oneness that envelops us all. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Serve, worship God, and do not join any partners with him, her, and do good, that which is beautiful and beautifies, ihsan, to parents, kinsfolk, orphans, those in need, neighbors who are near, neighbors who are strangers, the companion by your side, the wayfarer you meet, and what your right hands hold. For God does not love the arrogant or self-important. So keep seeing into that oneness, how everything is a vibration from that oneness. And let that light of love flow amongst us all. And in this process, in these days of Ramadan, Shams speaks a bit about being careful what one eats. And he begins by saying a reminder of a hadith of our beloved sustainer. God Most High says, "When my servant comes close to me by a span, I come close to him or her by a cubit." And then he goes on to reflect from that. But it brings up that hadith Qudsi, which is so beautiful. The whole of it is, when someone approaches me by a span, and a span is the expanse of a hand, I approach him by a cubit. A cubit is from the fingertip all the way to the elbow, so like 3 times multiplied. And when he approaches me by a cubit, by this whole expanse of the arm, I approach him or her by a fathom. And reflecting again on what's a fathom? It's 72 inches, which is like 6 feet. And it's usually used for measurement of water. And we recall how this human form is mostly water. So in a sense, it's a reflection of, when we offer just a portion of ourselves, even more of ourselves are brought into that presence through God's grace. And we offer a little more of ourselves, and just the whole of ourselves can be inundated with that presence of God's love and grace. And when my servant comes to me walking, I come to him, her, running. So this movement that we begin to experience in that approach, we can just be overwhelmed by that beauty and that presence and generosity from our sustainer. And Hazrati Shams continues to reflect on how Mevlana's presence is that reflection also for him, and how could he even look at him just from the aspect of intellect, of thinking about someone, another with him, when each human being has such a knowledge and such excellent qualities, all these names of God dancing around within each of us and moving through us. And he reminds us of another hadith that the Prophet relates of God saying, "When my servant is thirsty, clouds of wisdom cause rain to fall within his or her heart." And then he reminds us, "O throat that has been cut by the command of God, eat and drink, but ask, O throat, are you a throat or are you a sword?" So what is it that we thirst for? What is it that we take in? How do we receive? For what do we hunger? And he mentions that this capacity that we're given of restricting our food for a time, is a grace with which every one of us can adorn ourselves, he says. So listen to this advice, to this counsel, of the blessing of fasting, in whatever way we may choose to experience that or be able to experience that. And as Mevlana says in his Masnavi, "You who are kept in pawn to food, you can be free if you suffer yourself to be weaned. Truly in hunger there's abundant nourishment. Search after it diligently and cherish the hope of finding it. Feed on the light, be like an eye, be in harmony with the angels, O best of humankind. Like the angel, make glorification of God your sustenance." This reminds us a bit of a story of the life of the Prophet Muhammad in a moment when he was with Aisha and someone had brought a lamb for them, and the Prophet had cut it into pieces, and people were coming to visit, or he knew of someone who was in need, and he kept passing out pieces of the lamb until all that was left was the small neck. And Aisha began to complain a bit and said, "Oh, Prophet, you've given away all of it except this little neck." And the Prophet turned to her and he said, "Ah, Aisha, all that which we gave away is ours. Only this little neck is not ours." So in that generosity is our sustenance. And Hazrati Shams goes on to remind us, so learn this openness of heart and gain gifts for your good deeds, so that the darling, the beloved one you are seeking, might show her face to you often. O faithful ones who are like Layla, may God increase your number. Those who generously sacrifice their souls for the sake of those who are thirsty for love, they are like Layla. So this is the invitation that Mevlana and Shams extend to us, to see the light of love behind the light of this world. And they encourage us to open to that light that shimmers all around us and through us, and to share that light of love, that spirit and the breeze of that blowing through. And as we're reminded in the Quran, call upon me, I will answer, I will respond. And from his Masnavi, Mevlana says, don't insist on going where you think you want to go. Ask the way to the spring. The living parts of yourself will form a harmony. There's a moving palace that floats in the air with balconies and clear water running through in every part of it, infinitely everywhere, yet contained within a single tent. And from Hazrati Shams, with loving caresses, they make candy from sugar cane. With time, from silkworms, they make satin. The work that you are doing, do it slowly, carefully. Be a little patient. A day will come when from unripe grapes they'll make halva. O breeze of dawn, do you bring news from somewhere? What news have you brought of the cheeks of the moon-faced one? Are there days that you play and sing, or that you make zikr of hi and hu? O breeze, blow more slowly, because your fragrance is so beautiful. And a moment of Mevlana reflecting on the presence of beloved Shams and that power of light and love we can experience when we place ourselves within that light, open to that light and that love pouring through. He reflects that Shams said, when minds become bewildered by my craziness, I really wonder at those other frozen minds. He says, ice that stays in the shade doesn't melt because it hasn't seen the bright light of the sun. He says, when the sun sees ice begin to melt and sway, it smiles and says, I'm the water of life. Bring the one who tells everything and have that one complete the rest. And free me from speaking. I am silent, but undeniable proof. May each of us, through the silence within that inner sanctuary of the heart, through these days and nights of Ramadan, and all our moments of breath, be that undeniable proof of that gracious, beneficent light and that power of love. Evalahu.
Yallah. Thank you. Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. Before we start our zikr, I wanted to thank the friends who have stepped in to hold this space over the last several months and who all did a beautiful job. And we're so happy to be able to introduce you to some of these friends who you may not know, and also to open up to what they have to share with us. So we're thanking Daniel and Donia And we're thanking Ralph and Shakira. And actually before them was Zaki and Fatih. And finally, last month, Ed and Saima.
And all of your dear hearts, and Hadim and Mahmoud, who have held things in the background, and so many, many dear hearts. We're just so grateful for this beloved community.
Our next planned Sunday Zoom is on May 1st. Inshallah. Yes, inshallah. We're in the midst of a transition ourselves, particularly in the last week or two of April, when we are moving from Louisville to the San Diego area. So it's going to be a very busy time for us, but we hope to be there and be able to connect with you on May 1st.
Yes, with the opening of the Eid, yes. Inshallah.
So, time for zikr. Al-Fatiha. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. As long as we're in this world, none of us is free of faults, mistakes, and sins. May we be forgiven and may we be forgiving. Bismillah, astaghfirullah. 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 Astaghfirullah, 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 astaghfirullah. Everything in existence is the manifestation of a single source of life and being. And we say these words, La ilaha illallah, to remind us of the oneness of being, and to remind us not to make idols of our egos, whims, and desires. La ilaha illallah. 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 And God answers all calls in sincerity and truth. Bismillah. Ya Allah. 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 Allah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wadduha wallayli idha saja. Ma wadduka rabbuka wa ma qala. Walalakiratu khairul laka minal ula. Walasawfa yu'tika rabbuka fatarda. Alam yajidka yatiman fa'awa. ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث Sadaqallahul Azim.
We give thanks for the light under which we gather, for our peer Hazrati Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, and for the generations of seekers and guides that have come before us, and for all those who have been our teachers.
Amen.
And we pray for the health and well-being of everyone in this circle, our families, our children, our children's children, future generations, our communities, and our planet.
Amen.
And we mention at this time anyone in need of prayer or healing. And may Almighty God make our intention and our awareness sound and bring us in readiness to the center of true beginning. And may the light of this circle be received wherever it's needed. By the breath of Mevlana, by the secret of Shamsi Tabriz, by the nobility of Imam Ali, with the blessings of Muhammad Mustafa, mercy to the worlds. Let us say who? Assalamu alaikum.
لا إله إلا